guys, and welcome to a new video on Sonal's life. Now, as you can tell, so the last video I did, I looked at all the different factions. Well, today we are here because we are here with a show review. After a good few weeks of small house shows and a few televised events, we were here for the Destruction where were we in? In Kobe show. Now, obviously, this is, I think, the first major tour, the first major show following the G1 final, and it was stacked. We had some really nice pre-matches, so like the multi-man matches that had a lot of implications and very nice storylines going forward. We also had like 5-6 title matches in a row, and after a really strong summer, they actually have continued this. New Japan have done very well with the pacing of the show that they had today, the pacing of the matches, and also what is going on ahead of time. Now remember, after this Kobe show, we have the King of Pro Wrestling big show, which I would call maybe like the third biggest match of the year. That's just me. And then obviously Royal Quest in London. So all of this was building up to those two shows. So yeah, let's go ahead and we'll get started. We started with some multi-man matches. I got up at 8 a.m. You know what? 8 a.m. I will give you that for a Sunday show in New Japan. And we had Tiger Mask, Tomoaki Honma and Yuji Nagata facing Shota Umino, Ryusuke Taguchi, and the return of Dragon Dia, who we obviously saw during the Best of Super Junior. This was a really nice match. Unsurprisingly, Shota got the win over Honma. But what I quite like is, are we teasing Taguchi and Dragon Dia for Super Junior Tag League, which is happening next month, obviously. Taguchi in the past has teamed with basically everyone. Rocky, I was going to say Finn Balor, but you know what I mean. Like, he has teamed, more recently he teamed with Master Wato, who's obviously still injured. So this was really nice, and I really personally loved Dragon Dia during the Best of Super Junior, so it was nice to see him again. We then had the second match, which was the Empire. So we had Francesco Kira, Callum Newman and Jeff Cobb facing Los Ingobernables de Japón, Bushi, Hiromu Takahashi and Yota Tsuji. And obviously the storyline going on here is we've got the time limit draw for the television championship that happened between Jeff Cobb and Tsuji. And Tsuji was like, I'm not done. I want another shot. However, in the background somewhere, we had a lurking Ren Narita, who obviously didn't come out during this match. But similarly, again, I think ahead of like changes and stuff in the junior division, the Super Junior Tag League, we had a nice face-off between Hiromu and Akira. Even now, Hiromu is still one of those pillars of the junior division. Similarly, it happened with Doki that you need to get past Hiromu to be at the top. And that's what Akira did. Sadly, Hiromu got the pin over Akira in this match. But I like to say this, and we'll see it coming up, and especially in Super Junior Tag League, the junior division is very strong. Yes, we've been riddled with injury. Desperado's had surgery. Wato's injured. Yo is injured. And Fujita was injured for a bit. Do you know what I mean? Because it's the style of wrestling, but I feel like there is always somebody there and it's still very strong, so I enjoyed this. We then had a special singles match. So this came from basically in a tag match when Jake Lee of War Dogs got injured. It was Finley's fault. Finley has sort of manipulated Gabe into thinking it was all Hiroki Goto's fault. So they had this special singles match. Now, straight out the bat, before the entrances were even done, Gabe came out during Hiroki Goto's entrance and was like, come and look what I've done. The fucking madman, look what he's done. And he'd basically beaten up Goto before the bell. And so they started fighting. I think they got in the ring and then they went back out. And it led to a time limit. Well, not a time limit draw, but a count out. Like, a double count out. And so the crowd was booing. Because obviously, like Chris Charlton said on commentary, this was a match that people were looking forward to. And so Gabe went back and doing it. No, we're restarting this. We are doing this as no disqualification. Now, this is Gabe Kidd's house. He knows no DQ very well, but less so for Hiroki Goto. However, and I was really annoyed that this was so low on the card, this was actually an amazing match. There was so much power, there was tables, there was all sorts going on. You basically have the future of New Japan versus the present, and I guess the past of New Japan with Hiroki Goto. And throughout, there was so much dynamic wrestling going on. But also, as you saw, there were tables. At one point, Gabe got like a spike, and while Hiroki Goto reversed that, when he got it, Hiroki Goto was like, you know what? Yes, this is no DQ, but that's not where my strengths lie. So he chucked out the spike, he chucked out the table, and carried on wrestling. And I think we've said this time and time again. The problem with Gabriel Kidd comes with he gets very excited. He lets this adrenaline, this anger this sort of craziness take over him, and it gives a very weak spot of his arsenal. And that meant that Hiroki Goto actually got the win. Now, bearing in mind, this is Gabe Kidd is currently holding the the New Japan Strong title. So I would very happily like to see their match again, but for the title. And what I love is this ties into a storyline. So later in the show, we had Yoshihashi facing David Finlay for the title. There is this idea that David Finlay is manipulating Gabe Kidd. He has said, Goto did this to your tag team partner. But at the end of the day, like, I love that New Japan is still allowing Goto to shine. He shone in the G1. We saw him in that match against Takeshita, against Gabriel Kidd. While Gabe didn't look bad at all, it showcased that if you want to rely on someone, rely on Hiroki Goto. Come on, Gato! This man deserves to be IWGP Heavyweight Champion. But yeah, a really nice match. I always wonder if it was later in the card, maybe for the title and given more time, it would have been even better. We then had the final tag team multi-man match. Now this was big because it was basically an introduction to the new member of TMDK. I did a poll and it was like, who's going to be the newest member? Oiwa, who's obviously former Young Lion who has been in Noah for Excursion. Robbie X. People said it wasn't him because he was in London with a match against Robbie Eagles, I believe. Somebody else or me. Now, sadly, for the 22% of people who voted for me, it wasn't, but it was Ryo. I can never pronounce it right. It's Yohei Oiwa. Now, I guess, as Chris said, it was one of the worst kept secrets. So basically, was it last week or the week before, Oiwa had his last match in Noah, and everyone expected him to come back. So when there was a tease for the newest member, it made sense for it to be him. It's quite interesting because it's not often where you have Young Lions come back to join a faction where one of their fellow Young Lions there. I mean, we've seen it. Obviously, Juice and Finlay, I think, was different because they didn't do Excursion. But the last time, I think, was Jay, Sho, and Yo, who were all in Chaos. So this was interesting. And so, obviously, Oiwa, Fujita, and Zack were facing just 5 guys. So it's Taichi, Taka, and Sanada. Again, teasing the match, whether it be a singles or a title match at Royal Quest. This match was great. It showcased how much Oiwa has grown. He's a heavyweight now. He's built on sides. I don't like his hair, but his gear looks right. But really teasing what he's learned in his time teaming and wrestling some of the best people in Japanese wrestling. Similarly, it kind of counteracts. So we've got the real fresh and quite successful TMDK. Remember, we've got tag titles on that side as well. Versus just 5 guys who are floundering. So Umar is injured at the moment. Sanada is struggling. Taichi was missed out of the New Japan Cup. Doki is thriving as an IWGP Junior Champion, but they're very contrasting. In the end, Oiwa got the win over Taka, but I think this is a really nice reincarnation of TMDK. Not reincarnation, but you know what I mean. TMDK has been around for years, and by bringing it to New Japan and having some of the biggest veterans and new names has really set it up as, I think, one of the strongest factions in terms of diversity and manpower. So yeah, that was a really good match and a really nice way to end that portion of the show. Now, as good as the show has been, there's always something, or to be more specific, some people who have to ruin the show. And that is what we saw as we saw the Never 6-man titles on the line. Champions, Bolton Oleg, Toru Yano, Shacho, Tanahashi, that's president, versus House of Tortures, Evil, Yujiro Takahashi, and Sho. Now, the match itself, it was a match, you know, there was cheating, there was Dick Togo, there was Bolton Oleg, there was everyone under some red. Narita came back and decided to try and help them cheat. But luckily, in the end, the Hontai Trio won because, and this is the big storyline, I think, in this match, is they were helped by ELP. Now, ELP has been absent for a few weeks. In the G1, he suffered a lot. He seemed almost on edge in the final shows. Like, he turned down House of Torture, but we haven't seen him. We didn't know what was going on. He came out with a brand new blonde look, you know, no mullet. It was kind of a shock to the system. And basically beat up House of Torture. And at the end, they shook hands. It was really emotional because ELP pointed to the New Japan logo and he said home. And then Tanahashi was like, this is home. And it kind of cements that after everything that's going on. Obviously, all of GOD have left. He didn't know where his place was. But Hontai is now his home. He posted one of the stressful tweets of, you know, the black New Japan logo, but he subtitled it, captioned it Ie, which is home in Japanese. And it proves that, like, we can trust ELP to stay and to be part of the Hontai system. He's no longer part of God. He now has to incorporate himself and Jado into this mainstay system. And I think it's very good. And you know what, ELP? Looking very good. So I enjoyed that part. The House of Torture. The thing is, if they'd have won the Never titles, I guess it would have kept them out of everything else. But I just don't want to see this again. Shacho Tanahashi, we don't need to see you face House of Torture. But yeah, that was a really nice heartwarming ending. There was a nice air guitar at the end as they got to the entranceway, so I was happy. We then had probably the best member of House of Torture in Yoshinobu Kanemaru facing Doki for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Now, I was worried. I was very concerned because this is House of Torture. Yes, Yoshinobu Kanemaru is one of the best wrestlers in the world and massively underrated. As everyone says, he's your favourite wrestler's favourite wrestler. And as good as Doki has been with this IWGP Junior reign, you know, still emotional. Still remember that moment I cried. I didn't know which way it was going to go. And luckily for me, luckily for everyone, aside from like a bit of show interference, which we'll speak about that afterwards, this match was clean. There was no cheating, nothing out of the ordinary that we would see in a Kanemaru match when he was in Suzuki-gun. And it was, for example, you have Doki, someone who learnt from Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Remember, they were tag team partners, they were team partners in Suzuki-gun, and then in Just 5 Guys, tag team partners. And you could see that Doki was trying to showcase that he's not that young puppy anymore that they took under their wing when Desperado was injured. He was counteracting Kanemaru's very ground-based in years of experience with his own. And it seemed that at one point when Kanemaru targeted Doki's legs, you'd think, oh god, that's the worst thing that could happen, because Doki's offense is based on his speed, his athleticism, his ability to run and jump and do everything. However, it almost worked to Doki's benefit because he was like, shit, I have to learn to do what I can with what I have got. I have to beat the heel master in a different way. And he did that. And honestly, like, if you'd have asked me a few years ago, I remember telling you, like, Doki is going to be champion someday. I have always loved Doki. But if you'd have told me that he would have done this so well and so amazing, I couldn't have determined it. He beat Robbie Eagles, he beat Hiromu, he beat Desperado, he beat Taiji Shimura, and now he's beaten Yoshinobu Kanemaru. I guess the 5 pillars of the junior division, not just in New Japan, but like they mentioned, Kanemaru has won multiple titles in other promotions. He was almost so close to the Triple Crown. Robbie Eagles has won so many titles in different promotions. So Doki has cemented his own legacy, and obviously all legacies have to have an evil villain. So after the match, Sho came and decided to challenge for the belts. Again, I like to hope that this is a lead up not to Sho winning the belt, but for Sho to be defeated by Doki and then Yo to come back. But we will have to see. I'm not sure at this point when that match is going to happen. We'll find out if it's going to be in Ryogoku, I think, tomorrow. But yeah, that was a really good match, and it showcases that House of Torture, well, Kanemaru, can have an amazing match without interference. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. We then had, I guess, another rematch. So this was the battle for the Never Openweight Championship. The title holder, Hanare versus Shingo Takagi. Now, these two have fought endless time. They have done banger after banger after banger, and it's easy to assume, like, they couldn't do it again. They did! Every single time those two get in the ring, they are a battle of passion, spirit, and so much dedication to a sport. Now, these two are very similar in terms of their, I guess you could say their size, but also their approach to wrestling. They believe in heart, they believe in spirit, and it comes out in their strength, their willingness to continue. Now, throughout this, I think this is one of the matches where you didn't know who was going to win. Yeah, you might have, with the others, you might have thought, well, as good as Kanemaru is, Doki's probably going to win. Do you know what I mean? But this one, I was like, it could be anybody's game. And throughout the match, they did that so well, of pushing the audiences to the edge. Like, Shingo would do something, like, right, Shingo's going to win. Then Hanare would come back. And remember, Hanare, they really told an amazing story on commentary. And again, thank you Chris Charlton and Walker Stewart for being phenomenal, of how like Henare has this ability to come back from the worst. He almost died in that bloody cage match back in January or February in Osaka. So going against the Dragon, it should be nothing. And both men, despite a very different experience level, because as long as Henare has been in New Japan, so even before I started watching, he was a young lion and stuff. Shingo has just celebrated his 20-year anniversary. He has been in every company. He has won title after title. But what I love is that all of this is for the Never Belt, something that has been seen as a hot potato or lesser. These two men love this title as if it's the IWGP. Specifically, they always bring up with Henare that the reason that he fell in love with this belt, and with wrestling, was he saw a match for the Never title with Makabe and I believe maybe Ishii. And for him, the Never belt is as good as any IWGP. And you can see that. So in the end, while Shingo got the win, I think that these two have really elevated the belt again. I as much as I love Henare with the belt, I kind of want to see a different feud. I want to see a bit more continuity. But I love how good these two are in the ring together. Their chemistry is insane. And there is no doubt that Henare will win this title millions of times. He'll win other belts. And it was a really good match. And a really nice sort of change of speed from the junior match. We then had, I think, it always had the possibility to be one of the best matches of the night. We had IWGP Global Champion David Finlay facing challenger Yoshihashi, who obviously on the final night of G1, despite not even being in the tournament, pinned David Finlay to get a shot. Now, the lead up to this match was amazing. Finlay was full heel. He was bringing back that dreaded moment where Yoshihashi injured himself running to the ring. He brought up this young fan who was mentioned in a documentary being a Yoshihashi fan. And it was the perfect dynamic. Now, we know Yoshihashi and Finlay are both amazing wrestlers. However, both have really spent a lot of their careers under the radar. But had, and I like how it was mentioned here, a shoulder injury seemingly brought them back. So we saw a shoulder injury for Finlay. He came back as Bullet Club leader. Yoshihashi came back. He was a big team with Bishamon. He was winning Never titles. He won the tag titles. And so this match was a match of two underdogs who really had something to prove. Now, similarly with the Shingo versus Henare match, with this match, I did not know who was going to win. Okay, Finlay won and we all thought, right, that makes sense. Yoshihashi made me believe he was going to win. He came out with Hiroki Goto as his second, and obviously Finlay had Goto. Yoshihashi has come on leaps and bounds. He's always been a great wrestler. He's always had this underdog personality, but for some reason now he has stepped up to another level. He is the ultimate underdog. He has this perfect babyface persona. He has the ability to attract the crowds. Like I remember at the start of the match, Finlay was almost goading Yoshihashi by taking open the ring, basically alluding to what happened all those years ago, the unmentionable moment. And Yoshihashi didn't succumb to it and instead used it to his own advantage. I think these two are probably two of the most consistent workers. And again, now that Finlay's characterization has improved, one of the best heels in the industry. And personally, and like this is the spoiler, I think this was my favourite match of the night. These are two wrestlers who a few years ago you wouldn't have expected to be in this position, but they had the crowds chanting, they had the crowds cheering for the babyface, and it was the perfect dynamic for a title like this. Now, the title itself, the global one, is very new. Obviously, Finlay had it and then dropped to Nick Nemeth, but now that Finlay has it back, he's really done well with it. And obviously, after he beat Yoshihashi with, I can't remember the new name of it, but I'm going to call it Trash Panda still. Hiroki Goto challenged for it, because obviously in the G1, Hiroki Goto pinned Finlay in that beautiful match at, I believe, Korakuen Hall. So again, we've got another match set up. And I just want to say, like, I don't see Yoshihashi at any point being IWGP World Champion, but this man needs singles gold at some point because he has honestly captured the heart of everyone. Now, we then went into the main event. Again, another title match with a very unexpected competitor, and it was Tetsuya Naito versus Goto Khan, because obviously, remember, in the G1, Goto Khan beat Tetsuya Naito. Now, I've seen some people, and this one particular person on Twitter was like, I didn't like this match, it was boring. Was it the best IWGP heavyweight world match in the world? No. Was it the worst? Nowhere near. This was something new. For the past few years, everyone has been bored of the same people challenging, and it's Okan was something different. And this, going into it again, the lead-up was phenomenal. The toing and froing between both men have very different approaches to pro wrestling. Naito tranquilo, Okan basically doing everything in his mind and his ability to push the message of pro wrestling. I just think back to when I met him the first time and he tried to sell extra merch to me. He loves this business as much as he claims it's taken a while. This match was very nice in terms of speed, pacing. For a lot of it, and especially the start, it was very slow paced, and this was because Okan was dominating. Okan was setting the pace, knowing that Naito is better in the fast speeds of a match, despite his knees being basically dodged up. And for a good portion of the first half, it was all under Okan's control. Now, yes, there was a few botches, I think, specifically towards the end when Okan tried to do an eliminator off the top rope. These two work very well together. They are a battle of a contrast of styles and personalities, and I quite liked that the first portion was quite slow, but then towards the end it sped up. You could see that the desire, the urge of both men to get a win increased. And what I loved is, obviously, Naito is one of the most popular men in professional wrestling, probably in the history of professional wrestling. However, there were so many times where the crowds were chanting, "Okan, Okan." And despite Naito winning in the end, it proves that, you know what, from being a joke doing King of Pro Wrestling matches with ice and lemons and tires, while he might not be ready for the gold yet, Okan is someone that the company can push and the crowds will get behind. And you need that with guys like Naito being on sort of their ending streak, Tanahashi. You need to set up new guys. And if you complain about this match, you're complaining about everything you wanted. You said, New Japan, we want new stars, we want you to build new people. And you can't do that without trialing it. Is Okan fully ready for that? Not yet, but he has proved that in a few months, in a few years, he is ready for that top spot. So it was great. So obviously after the winning, Zack Sabre Jr. came out, and he's obviously got the next match at Ryogoku King of Pro Wrestling. However, before anything could really happen, Shingo Takagi came out. Remember, Shingo beat Naito at the G1. And it was quite funny. So Shingo came out and he was like, I want to challenge, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like to Zack, Nihongo wakarimasu ka? Which is like, do you understand Japanese? And then Zack was like, wakarimashou. And then he went to Naito, Nihongo wakarimasu. And then Naito was like, yeah, wakarimasu. And I was like, this is so bizarre. So that was happening. And then all of a sudden, Oiwa came out. And he's basically, because now he's TMDK, he's like, what are you doing getting in on Zack's chance? So he basically said, okay, you want to show the title, fine, but first you need to let me challenge you for the Never belt. And you know, what better way to make a state of like, I am back in this company, than to challenge one of the best, and someone like Shingo, who basically is a star maker. So it set up some amazing stuff, and that was a really nice way to end. And also after that, when they were like, Naito was like, I'll beat Zack and I'll pick my opponent, he looked at both Shingo and Hiromu, who was on commentary. We've got King of Pro Wrestling going forward. There's already a lot. Zack versus Naito, hopefully for the first ever British G1 winner to win the title, because obviously Ospreay's won the title. We can possibly have Sho versus Doki. We can have Goto versus Finlay. Who else? We've got Shingo versus Oiwa. Maybe even something with the junior tag titles, even something with the heavyweight tag title. This was a really good match, setting up for a very busy time of the year. Like I said, King of Pro Wrestling, Royal Quest, Super Junior Tag League, then there'll be World Tag League, and then Wrestle Kingdom, which I have tickets for both that and Wrestle Dynasty. So yeah, that was a really good show. I really enjoyed it, and it's exciting to see what's coming up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show as much as I did. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Remember, down here on social media at wrestling_chat, what was your best match of the night? What stood out? What are you looking forward to? Make sure to let me know, and remember to hit like, share the video, and hit subscribe, because I will be back in a few weeks, maybe less, for the King of Pro Wrestling review. And then literally a few days after that, I will be at Royal Quest, so there will be a vlog, there will be reviews. So make sure to subscribe to be the first people to know about it. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the show, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon. Bye!